Hi, this mission is the inverse of the previous Jool mission, which was big and expensive. This is a small and cheap one, and it is solely designed to visit the two small moons, Bob and Paul. And one goal in mind is to visit the dead space Kraken, because I didn't visit that before. And with these two moons, actually, I completely covered all bodies in my videos now in the Kerbol system. So in a way, that's a feeling of a completeness now. So it's an injection burn. Uh, the thing is, of course, because it's a nuclear engine, it doesn't work too fast. So I have to do it in two burns. And yes, so those radiators really got hot. And the usual Jool trajectory with a really long burn. So it was like 6 and 7 minutes or so, so they were really long. If this is around the max, so you can burn around Kerbin, because you will just move past your burn point on your trajectory, so it doesn't worth to do more. So here's the encounter, and after the encounter, the same way as before, I wanted to find a gravity assisted capture, and it took a while. I wanted to use Tylo this time because that's more on the outside, so I was hoping that I get a bigger orbit, which is not so close to Jool. That spares me several hundred meters per second of fuel. Since my goal is first Bob, I wanted to have as big or as circular orbit as possible, close to the orbit of Bob. And this is the burn. And then the usual 6 minutes of boredom, because there is no bigger time acceleration. Fortunately, it's going faster here now because of 16 times faster playback. So I wanted to do a correction that minimizes my inclination to my target, and that was going well. But still, I had a few degrees, 1 to 2 degrees of inclination difference, so I had to correct for that. And of course, I had to raise the periapsis so that I'm closer to my target. And actually, I could get a rendezvous this way, a little bit slower than maybe needed, but had to go to a higher orbit. And here we are. Just I needed a polar orbit for and Kraken, because it's very much up on the north. And use the 61 kilometer orbit so that I can use a high time acceleration, because I had to wait until it gets to the light side or day side again, but it was just moving out. There is Jool moving past. And confirm that the fuel is still there, so I could separate. with the lander. Approximately this periapsis is above my target site. The engineer there is there to confirm the longitude, and soon I could confirm by eye that yes, it's there. So on the next orbit I could go even lower, just passing above those mountains, and finally arriving to the target a little bit short or a little bit too fast, so I landed around 1 kilometer from it. There is not really much fuel in this to waste for extra maneuver, so I couldn't do anything. This is where I had to land now. Too small gravity. So I just took a jab there, but I could have taken everybody out. And there is a almost full science package except for the ore or resource scanner. But I didn't use those, so I could have. So here is a Kraken, and it's dead. One eye is fallen out. So it's pretty much up north above that crater, a little bit to the east from the center. So next is the docking, which is nothing new. Just waiting until the target is in position. Fix the plane. So now I'm in the same plane and quickly rendezvous. And managed to do it without RCS because of the small gravity. And docked. So now I had to go to the other moon, but first I moved the fuel, the oxidizer for the next landing, which was held in reserve, to the lander. And then inclination change, so again I have the same plane, and soon I had an encounter. And there were 4 small tanks which were empty in the beginning, and I used those to put all the remaining fuel from these external tanks to those, so I could drop these external tanks to pole, and yes, they hit it, so there is no space debris, but I have the fuel, I didn't need to waste it. So now a more conventional equatorial orbit and a quick landing, just confirming everything okay, and trying to land on a more or less plain terrain, but of course it's almost not possible on pole because everything is every terrain is so full of mountains, hills and valleys. On the other hand, I don't need to worry because gravity is very small, so nothing can happen actually. And I like these rock formations on the surface. They're really nice. And with this, I visited everybody in my videos now, finally. I spent a lot of time on Duna and so on, but yeah. So again, a usual rendezvous. a bit unusual in that aspect that I did the encounter when I still wasn't in orbit actually, but in suborbital trajectory. And everything was set up perfectly for RCS-less docking, but then I couldn't set the target from the other ship, so I missed it. So I had to do the docking again, this time with RCS, because it was simpler that way. So with the remaining fuel, I could do basically anything. It's really a lot, so it's somewhat over designed this way. So I finally set up an encounter with Kerbin. I had to wait a little bit time until I was in a better position in the Jool orbit. But there was still some fixing to do because the inclination wasn't completely correct. So I had to fix this, and I was past the node, so I knew that it wasn't going to be that precise. But I just had to get an encounter which is close enough. And at this point, because the two trajectories were too close to each other, I couldn't set up a maneuver node just on the trajectory which was after the encounter, and that was not really useful, so I had to do it manually, which wasted a little bit of fuel, like 10 meters per second, but I had like 1500 at this point remaining, which is a lot. And at this point I could have finished the mission easily, because this cabin is the same design as in the previous mission, so it can land directly from this orbit without any harm. But I wanted to land at the space center because I had so much fuel remaining. So I measured it with the maneuver node, and it was really close. But I thought, okay, if it's not it's not enough, I can use the RCS because I had a lot of RCS fuel remaining. This is a side effect, that there is no small RCS tank just in the cabins, and I didn't have a cabin, so I had to put an RCS tank on the ship. And here I a little bit missed the periapsis, so I wasted some fuel here. But I did capture, and I had like 120 meters per second of data remaining. I set an equatorial plane again, and the really tough air braking protected me against the gravity influence of the moon. And after that, it was just usual air braking, slowing down or making the apoapsis slower in several sessions, but quite effectively. It still took more than 10 minutes or 15 minutes or something like that. I finally had a very close orbit with around 45 kilometers and like what was it, 190 kilometers. So I could use the RCS to circularize at that point, because it was so much delta V in it, really. I wouldn't have taken that fuel with me that much, but that was in the tank, so yeah. And here's my usual 72 kilometers orbit, and from that I can already do a precise landing from the space station. This time I had to put the periapsis very far away to that small peninsula, because I knew that this cabin has a really good braking capability. Touching everything, just the cabin remains. This small probe core in. And a little bit I overshot because I forgot to correct in the last few seconds. So if I started the correction a few seconds earlier, I would have landed exactly there, but this is close enough, I think. And they are back home safely again from Jool. Thanks for watching. Bye.